And a good Mainstay Monday morning, Birds fans. Mainstay referring to the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. The first true week of the offseason. We didn't have a full week because the Eagles played Monday night last week. So we only had to go through Tuesday through Friday without Eagle football. Now we have to do the entire week, the entire month, the entire next 5 or 6 months. But there is surely plenty to talk about. You'll do so with the Mac and Mac guys for the next 2 hours here on Birds 365. McMullen and McDonald here with you. Got a couple of good guests coming your way, so you do want to stay right here. J-Mac, when we left on Friday, it was certainly looking like Nick Sirianni was going to survive the attack of many an Eagle fan, many an Eagle Nation guy. Looks like he's going to stay. There hasn't been an official announcement. So I guess that's my first question. Will there even be an official announcement? He is the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. Contract says with 2 more years to run out, he's the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. Do the Philadelphia Eagles need to make an official announcement that Nick Sirianni is staying as the head coach?
No. Typically, you don't announce, as you mentioned, the head coach under contract is the head coach. You typically don't issue a press release to say the head coach. Now, Jerry Jones did it because there was a lot of swirling rumors around Mike McCarthy. So he came back and did it. There's no rule book that says you can't do it, but the way the Eagles typically do their business, they drop a hint out there or two, and yesterday's hint was as good as you can get, which is, Sean Desai was fired, and it was made clear it was done by Nick Sirianni. So, I mean, take it for what you want, but I wouldn't overthink it. The head coach is going to be back, and you can debate it from there. I would say if they change their minds now, it looks like a clown show. You got a guy doing business, firing people, and then you say, "Oh, by the way, we're going to fire him." You look even worse. So you never say never in this industry. And again, people can wake up on the wrong side of the bed. And I've said it from day one. We're talking about one person. And that one person can wake up and change his mind and say, you know what, this is not the way I think it should be going. But I've been pretty confident that Nick was coming back, and it's even grown more confident since then.
Agreed, because if you're going to make a move, you need to be decisive about it. You need to get it done ASAP so you can give yourself as best options, as many options going forward as you can. The Eagles have not fired Nick Sirianni. It's been a week since they went down in flames to Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So for those of you who are clamoring for the removal of the head coach, doesn't look like you're going to get it. But you will get a new defensive coordinator going next year. No great surprise here, seeing as Sean Desai was demoted. And they actually did say defense coordinator fired. Okay, yeah, he was the defensive coordinator. Sean Desai, no great surprise, told his services no longer needed. As you mentioned, at least the way it was reported, Nick Sirianni was the one who told him that was the case. He's no longer employed by the Philadelphia Eagles, which surely does tip the Eagles' hand on Sirianni. Sean Desai did not do a good job this year. You and I both got to titter a little bit about the fact that, that Gannon guy, I guess, wasn't half as bad as some people thought he was. Certainly a significantly better defense last year than this year. I'm not going to make the argument that Sean Desai should have kept his job or should stay because the defense wasn't good enough. But I'm going to share the blame. I think Howie Roseman gave him a lesser unit to work with, a lesser stacked defensive lineup than the one that the predecessor, who you knew was going to be compared to, had a chance to work with. So I will share the blame when it comes to the defensive faltering. And we still know, and I don't know when we'll know who made the decision to pull the plug on Sean Desai in the midst of the season, which I have no problems calling it an abject failure at this stage, the decision to move to Matt Patricia. So I'm going to cut Sean Desai a little bit of slack, not enough to save his job, but I'm sharing the blame over several different parties as far as the Eagles' poor defensive performance this year. You?
Oh yeah, I mean, look, I mean, Sean wasn't great, as you mentioned. I thought a lot of the fallback on the defense was entirely predictable. I thought it would have fell back even if Jonathan Gannon returned. I said it pretty consistently. You
Yeah,
know, so
lots
many
of sacks.
career seasons. The sacks were not sustainable. That was a historic sack number. Um, so I thought part of that, even if they had the 5 starters and Gannon back, I thought they were going backwards. That kind of stuff just doesn't happen, but it went too far backwards. And part of that is I would say more than not is the personnel aspect of it. Um, I hate to bring up TJ Edwards because Clay Harbor, our buddy who's been on the show, did it. And he said, you know, he got a source who said, and I don't know if he might have talked to TJ himself because he's in Chicago, but um, you know, Eagles never negotiated with him. So I said that the day he signed, it might have been the day after on Burst 365. I said maybe he just wanted to go home, given the Eagles he's a Chicago area native, grew up a Bears fan, and then when he got to Chicago, did an interview and said, "Oh, it's always been a dream of mine." Everybody's like, "All right, that's it." He left because he wanted to go home. Not necessarily.
Right.
Yeah,
It's Chicago Sports Talk Radio. What do you think he's going to
exactly.
go on and say?
Exactly.
You know, I really wanted to go back to the Eagles, but
Yeah.
the Bears were a pretty solid second choice. So that's why I signed. And I remember this, John. It was like less than an hour before free agents became.
Yeah, it was 17 minutes, I believe.
Boom,
17
just
minutes.
done. He was a Chicago Bear.
Yeah.
That tells me he didn't have a choice. It wasn't like he was going to weigh the offers and try and get some leverage between the two and maybe run the price up. No, the Eagles didn't even made him an offer.
I'm always amazed, Jody. I'm always amazed. Somebody does that. They go on. If he came to Philadelphia, he would have said, and by the way, he told me leading up to free agency multiple times, it's fun. I'd love to come back. This is the team that took a shot on me. This is an undrafted free agent. He said that in Philadelphia. He said the opposite. Obviously, that's not, concrete proof. Anyway, the Eagles did make him an offer. Maybe if they did make him an offer, he would have chose Chicago. That's still a possibility. I'm not closing the door on that, but it would have been nice to see them try to keep a really good player. And for whatever damn reason, and you know this, Jody, because you've been ground floor on Brock Purdy, who actually got drafted, at least. Now, he was Mr. Irrelevant. He was the last draft pick. But, people hold that against you. They hold it against you. They hold it against you. They hold it against you. They hold it. Man, they hold it against TJ Edwards. They 3 consecutive years. I had to look it up. 3 consecutive years. One of them on the Chicago Bears, and weren't very good, by the way. Top 10 all-ball linebacker by Pro Football Focus. 3, that's a pretty damn big sample size.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big damn sample size. So forget the fact he didn't get drafted. It drives me insane. And you look at the difference between, and Kaiser White's part of this too, but less part of it. You look at the difference from linebacker. If you can't see the difference in linebacker play from the Philadelphia Eagles last season to this season, I can't help you. I can't help you. Well, because I saw Clay's report, and there's a bunch of people in the comments. Who cares? Who cares? They stink. TJ Edwards and Kaiser White. Really? You're that obtuse? I mean, again, I can't help you if you think that. The downgrade at that particular position, and I called it going into this week, linebacker. I called it linebacker week because San Francisco, Baltimore, at least on paper, are the 2 best teams. They both have top-tier linebackers. And people are going to make a big deal out of it. And I saw Ike Reese making a big deal out of it, and Jeremiah Trotter making a big. It was the most predictable thing ever.
But righteous. You got a problem with either Ike or Jeremiah?
No, I don't have a problem with it. I don't have a problem with it. Here's where I am. And I've said it pretty consistently as well. The Eagles devalued the position, but they took it too far. They took it too far. And then when you get a good player, you pay them. I think a lot of people forget Fred Warner's the best linebacker in football, the best, number one. He's a third round pick. But he turned into what he turned into, and the 49ers paid him. TJ Edwards, it's not Fred Warner. I'm not sure, but he's top 10 in the league. There aren't a lot of linebackers better than TJ Edwards in this league. Fred's one of them. There aren't a lot. The Eagles got a good player. They didn't pay him. Oh, we'll just go to Nakobe Dean. We'll go to the next one. It's a mistake. If you get a good player, keep the good player in his prime. Look, it's a tightrope, but he's still a young guy.
Yeah.
If you start talking about somebody in their 30s, the context comes into it. Then you got to make more difficult decisions. But it doesn't matter. Could be running back. You saw Pacheco again, closing the game out, running hard, late in the game, his 7th round pick. The Chiefs drafted Clyde Edwards-Helaire, still on the team and still a part of things, but they drafted him in the 1st round. So what? Pacheco's better. Anyway, they made a lot of problems. And then you go back to safety. CJ Gardner-Johnson. Now he's been hurt most of the year, makes a big play. He's just a playmaker. They weren't able to replace that. And even Marcus Epps, the steadiness of Marcus Epps, they weren't able to replace. And then Javon Hargrave, I can't kill him for that because of Jalen Carter, but right. 4 of the 5.
Used the 9th pick in the draft to get an unbelievable talented guy. That one I will at least say they addressed. The others they did not. Plain and simple. That's on Howie Roseman. And he has devalued linebacker, he's devalued safety, and they paid a price for it this year. And Sean Desai turns around and pays the price for it with his job. So we know that Sean Desai's gone. We know there's probably more coaches to follow on Nick Sirianni's staff. And if he was told he had to fire Sean Desai, I guarantee he's going to fire the rest of the guys too. Howie's not going to have to make that call. They're going to be called into Sirianni's office. So there are more changes to come. And what I would suggest would be both the offensive and the defensive side. But again, reading the tea leaves, doesn't look like they're swapping out the offensive coordinator, that Brian Johnson has survived the purge. Now, this again can change. As John said in the first segment, it's one guy. Jeff Lurie wakes up on the wrong side of the pillow and things could change like that. But it does look like Brian Johnson's going to save his job, or his job will not be taken from him. Is that a good thing, John?
Well, that's a deep discussion right there, Joe.
Yeah, it is.
Plenty of time. I mean, that involves the quarterback, that involves the connection and the relationship with the head coach. That involves what are you going to do with the head coach as far as demands? Is he going to say, hey, look, your offense didn't work down the stretch. Maybe give Brian a little bit more rope to do what he wants to do. There's a lot of layered contextual things there, depending on who you want to blame. I wrote about this on SI about the shift in the Eagles from Chip Kelly to post Chip Kelly, and accountability versus basically collaboration. They've set up this collaborative process, which comes directly from Jeffrey Lurie, which sounds good on paper. It's a good corporate buzzword, blah, blah, blah. But, only one guy knows who's accountable. Really. Again, we're talking about one guy. That's going to be the theme of this show, and it's Jeffrey Lurie. One guy. Like, who's to blame for the offensive problems? Nick can point fingers at Brian. Brian can point fingers at Nick. Jalen can point fingers at both of them, one of them, neither of them. Offensive players can look at it a certain way. We don't know. We don't know. Jeffrey Lurie knows. So is he going to hold the right guy accountable? Maybe Brian did a bad job. I don't think that's the case. If you ask me personally, maybe he did a bad job. Maybe he did. Then he should know that, and he should have no problem firing him. But he's the only one who knows because he set up this system. He set up this system where there's about 18 chefs in the kitchen. And, Alex Tanney, as the quarterback's coach. I think he's a big candidate to be scapegoated. Very young coach. You can see some of the fallback in Jalen Hurts' game, and he's the one who works with him on a day-to-day basis. So I think he's a logical scapegoat candidate. There's a lot of pieces in play, and that's part of the problem. At least when you have one guy you know who's accountable. If Nick's the head coach and the offensive guy, and he should be accountable because he is, and that's how he portrays it. But, play calling is such a big deal with fans. And I get it, but I say it all the time. It's that most of that stuff's done during the week. And then you got a menu, a cheesecake menu, and you got a couple options and you go in that direction. The bigger part of coaching is teaching and making sure the players are in a position to where they're going to optimize things, hot routes, things like that. People, there are no hot routes in the offense. Well, that would be the first offense in creation that doesn't have a hot route. That's up to the receivers and the quarterback and even the offensive line, understanding if there's an unaccounted for blitzer, that's the only time a hot route's involved. If there's somebody unaccounted for, then it's on the quarterback and the receiver to realize it. Sight adjustments, they got to be on the same page. That's about teaching. That's not about play calling. That's about teaching. So whose fault is it that they're not taught properly at the end of the season? Well, it's everybody's fault, but who do you blame most? Again, it's a very layered discussion.
Yeah, see, you and I differ a little on this one. I think play calling is very important. I get it that you got to be taught all week, you got to be coached all week, you got to put a system in place all week, and then you're picking the right play at the right time. I think that's damn important. And Shane Steichen was outrageously good at it, and Brian Johnson just wasn't. I know this won't be popular, but I think the biggest problem this offseason, and here's where Sirianni could have gotten fired, and I don't know this, but I believe this. I think he was the one who green-lighted Jalen to have as much control of the offense as he did. That Jalen was doing that much more checking out of plays and freelancing. Was that how AJ Brown described?
He didn't use the word freelancing. He used what
was the word he used?
I'll look it up.
It seems to be freelancing to me, but they did a hell of a lot of that this year. And I don't remember them doing all that much of it last year with Shane Steichen calling the plays. So not only do I think the play calling was poor, I think it was in 2020 hindsight. I might not have said this at the beginning of the year, so I'd have to admit to it and call it 2020 hindsight. I think they gave Jalen too much control of the offense. Now, I know they also gave him a $250 million contract. And if you're going to make that kind of financial decision, the decision of how much power you're going to give him on the field, it's kind of got to go hand in hand with it.
But improvised, by the way, is the
improvised, not freelance. Thank you very much for the correction. That to me was a big part of the offense taking a pretty significant step backwards.
I'll tell you why. I've explained, I think, pretty well. Maybe not. I've explained most plays have a kill option. Pass to run the pass. There's a couple options baked in for the quarterback. Now, the Eagles have.
Let me at least put this out there first. When you have a kill option, there's option A and there's option B. You're putting them in a specific order, A above B. You can kill A to get to B, but the call coming in is not A and A, and you pick which A. No, there's an A and there's a B. So when you do the kill thing, you're going to the second. What was perceived to be when the call comes in from the offense coordinator, this should be the best play to work, and then the defense can dictate you to go to option B.
Yeah, and that's basically the math equation that the modern NFL has become. You look at the box and you say, all right, this is not a good look. It might be a run play. This is not a good look. We got to kill it to the pass play option. So, that none of that has changed from Shane to Brian Johnson or year to year. Now, year to year, you should improve. You should grow a little bit. You should be able to do a little bit more. And that's any quarterback at the line of scrimmage. So there's a constant involvement. But that particular play in Seattle, the check to the the deep route to A.J. Brown. The Eagles do that all the time. It's a lot of times it's successful. Nobody cares. They checked. Jalen checked. A.J. Brown goes deep. Bang. Big play or touchdown. Successful. In that particular instance, I said Seattle won the game on the same play. On the same play on their side. Won the game on the same play. Better throw, better execution. One and ended up holding up. A deep ball, deep shot,
and
James took advantage
that's
of James
scary
Berry.
because Drew Lock got it done and Jalen Hurts didn't.
Yes. So at some point, he didn't look off the safety long enough to get, and Julian Love was able to get over. He underthrew the football. Now, typically, AJ is going to at least play defensive back, and maybe you can blame him a little bit for that, but I'm not going to give it. It was a really poor throw. It was really underthrown. Didn't have an opportunity to come back to the football. I mean, Jalen's a part of this too. He really is.
He is. And I know some Eagle fans don't want to hear that because they know they're committed to Jalen. There's no discussion about are they moving off Jalen Hurts and going in a different direction. He is here. He is their $250 million man. Little thing that people kind of forget. He's still on his rookie contract. The extension that they did doesn't start until 2024. So you know that Jalen Hurts is going to be part of it. So you just have to hope that the problems weren't Jalen Hurts this year. Yeah, they were. He was part of it. It wasn't, oh, my God, the awful play calling by Sean Desai. Oh, everybody. No. Jalen
By the way, also, little plug for our old buddy Joe Santaliquido, who was back on Bleeding Green Nation this morning. Did a closer look at the 2023 Eagles historic collapse. I'd encourage everybody to read it. Did a lot of work on it. I know I've been talking to him about it, and it was coming for a while. And it does a good job laying out some of the issues that went on down the stretch of the Eagles season. So,
all right. So I got to get the Bleeding Green Nation. I will do that before the morning comes and goes. What I have to do right now is go to break because I see in our green room that our friend, Mr. Monday Morning, Jeff Kerr from CBSSports.com is going to jump in. We'll talk mostly Eagles with him, but also the weekend that was in the NFL. Linebacker U moving on with both San Francisco and the Ravens. And, oh, by the way, that Mahomes guy can win on the road. Yeah, I know you got to do certain things before you say you can do certain things. Well, Patrick Mahomes.
The dirtiest words in Buffalo, Jody, wide right. Wide right.
Tyler Bass. That one stung Bills fans. Sorry to say. All right, he's McMullen. I'm McDonald. You got Mac and Mac Birds 365. Jeff Kerr, CBSSports.com next.